Hey guys, we just did a inspection video on the Banshee and what to look for when you're buying one, and I mentioned to do a compression test if the guy lets you. So I'm going to show you guys how to do one the right way. Here's the gauge that I use. It's a Bosch gauge. Part number is Fix 7827. I got this at O'Reilly for like, man, I think 20 bucks. It was like $19.95 or something. It's a good gauge, works fine. There's a couple of things about compression testers I want to tell you that is important when you go to test compression on the Banshee. See this adapter here? See the end of it? It's got that valve in there. That is super important when you test the compression on a Banshee. This here is a nice looking Harbor Freight gauge. It'll work fine for a car because a car has a lot bigger cylinder volume and it spins over the starter, so it spins over faster. For this gauge to work, the Banshee cylinder volume would have to be great enough to fill this entire gauge and the adapter with one kick and make the gauge register. The Banshee cylinder is too small for that. It's not going to happen. If you were to take and test a good 150-pound cylinder with this gauge, you'd probably get 60 psi with about freaking 500 kicks. Trust me. Been there. The reason this valve here works well is because when you hook it up to this gauge, each individual kick is stored in here. And every time you kick, it adds to it and adds to it and makes your gauge register. With this one here, there's nothing storing that charge in there. Every time you kick it, it pressurizes the gauge just a little bit, and all you're getting is that little short burst that makes it past this right here. Whatever doesn't make it past this bleeds right back out of the hose and back into the cylinder. So this gauge here from Harbor Freight, don't use it. Won't work. Okay, let me set up my camera, pull the plugs out, and we'll do a compression test on this puppy. All right, let's pull these plugs out. Let me pull the other plug real fast. Alright, we got both plugs out. Now we're going to put the gauge in. Yes, Chris, I hear you messaging. Go away. You're going to hear your text in the video. One of my buddies from the group, Chris. Okay. So you just take your hose. If you've done it before, bear with me. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous. I'm showing you how to put this in the cylinder. But if you've never done it before, this hose is soft, it's pliable, and I mean sometimes it's a little stiff from being bent. Really? Hold on. Yeah, it's gonna ring again in a minute. Okay. Sometimes it's a little like bent stiff because it's stuck in that package forever. I just kind of work it around a little bit. And what you want to do is, if this is dirty up here, I probably wouldn't even mess with it if it's at the guy's house, because you don't want to knock a bunch of dirt in the cylinder and then just finish it off if it's got any damage as it is. So be sure it's clean up here. If you can, maybe wipe it down with a rag first, and then you're gonna it's kind of a tight fit. It really does suck on a Banshee here, especially if the hose is stiff. You're gonna kind of get it in there, and you're gonna twist on the hose and twist on the end of it there at the same time and get it started. And there we go, see it started. And it'll work better if you twist on the hose and right next to the head there. It doesn't have to be tight with a wrench or pliers. Just get it tight as you can with your hand there. Told you I was gonna ring again. Hang on a second, I'll be back. All right, I'm back. I had to run the town real fast. Okay, so we got the hose screwed in good and tight. And then your compression gauge goes on just like you would if you've ever put an air gauge, put a air chuck or something on an air hose. Squeeze it here, push it right on. Usually I just lay it right up on the fender right there. Let me raise this camera up some so you guys can see. All right, I'm just gonna zoom in on it some. And what I'm gonna do is just give it a few kicks until the gauge quits going up. Guys will tell you to keep the throttle wide open, stuff like that. You really don't have to. Let's see what we get. Get the gauge in view. All right, there's the right cylinder. I would consider the engine cold. Let's see what we get. Jesus. I have on really soft shoes. I ride my bike a lot with these shoes on, so the soles are thin. Oh, it feels like I'm kicking this thing barefooted. 150. So that's all you do is you kick it until the gauge quits going up. So we have 150, well, about 147 here, something like that. So I'm gonna guess we have 21 cc domes in this cool head. Now we're gonna go ahead and go to the other side. To pull the gauge off, just push this release here, like that, and pop it off. Take and screw your hose out. Okay, we'll go around to the other side. Same thing on this side. Take the hose, screw it into the cylinder. Take your time, be sure you get it started straight, because the dome or the head is aluminum, so it's soft metal. You don't want to screw it up, especially if you don't buy it. All right, good and tight. Same deal here. We'll raise the camera up. We'll lay it on the fender so you guys can see it. And you guys can see that, I guess. Good enough. At sea level with no porting, nothing like that, with 21 cc domes, you gotta make about 155 psi on good fresh top end. With 20 cc domes, you'll make right at 170. All right, here we go. Let's see what we get out of this one. Left cylinder, cold engine. Hurts. Let me try kicking it a different way. Whew. I can't see the gauge now if it's going up or not, so kick it a few more times. Alright. So we're good there. We have 150 on the mark. So this engine's good and healthy. If you were going to be buying this motor, you know you don't have anything to worry about. Everything's pretty much dead even. It's within probably 3 pounds of each other. So just pop the gauge off. And take our gauge out, our hose out. And after you do this, after you kick it a few times like that, it's possible that the engine will flood a little bit. It may take a few kicks to get it cranked up. Just hold the throttle open on it, give it a few good hard kicks, and it'll clear out and bust off. You see, I don't get my plugs real tight at all. They don't have to be real tight. Okay, all right. See if she'll fire up after all those kicks. Usually I just try to crank it wide open throttle. Here we go. There we go. So that's it, guys. That's how you do a compression test. A lot of times if you do a compression test on a warm motor, maybe a little higher, it'd probably be closer to 155. So this top end on this motor is probably pretty fresh. I don't know, this is a motor I bought off eBay. I was at a pinch for an engine, didn't feel like piecing one together, so just hopped on and bought one real fast, and I guess it worked out. It's got a little noise in the clutch cover or something. When I do the clutch, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can find out what that noise is too. But anyway, there it is, compression test. Y'all have a good one.